I know I haven't made a video in a long time. I've had a lot of stuff going on. My mother is very, very ill. She's been in the hospital for 6 weeks, and she has not eaten in 6 weeks. So needless to say, that's caused me a lot of stress. And actually, I went into an MS exacerbation. But there's good news here. It's good news. And the only reason I'm making this video right now is because I just took a shower. So anyways, I got a little, what you just saw there was a syringe that's coming up, but I got to get the hair out of my mouth. That's coming up in a little bit as part of the story. But so my mother went into the hospital. She has an intestinal blockage and she's had surgery. It doesn't really look good, but just when I think it's really, really, really bad, then there's like a little bit of positive news. But my mother, I do have mother issues, and my mother is, it's just very difficult. It's just a very difficult situation. But anyways, because of that, the stress has been really intense. And what I happened to stumble upon, or you know how those kind of things work, is a book on vitamin B12. And I was diagnosed with in 1996 with MS. I don't know. I'll get to that later because then I got itchy nose. Oh, sorry. So, anyways, I felt like I was starting to lose my left arm. Like it felt numb, and normally from like the nipple line up, I'm totally normal. Well, you know what I mean. Physically. So, anyways, I made an appointment with my normal doctor, which I don't usually do, but I wanted to get a B12 shot to see if anything, you know, if that would help me or whatever. I just kind of knew I needed it. I can't even explain it. So prior to going to the doctor, I started supplementing with some methyl B12 and sublingual, which is 5,000 micrograms per tablet. And I was doing it for a couple weeks, where I think it maybe helped a little bit, but I was still just, I was in really rough shape and I got scared. And I got to tell you, with this disease, for some reason, I've never been really, really scared. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, what if I wake up tomorrow and I can't use this? That's not the way my disease has been. It's just been a slow and steady decline, no matter what I've done. And as far as detox goes, I can't seem to detox. And as many of you know, I have just gotten through a 2-year detox with doing vegan and raw vegan, which that helped in a lot of ways, but one way I could kick myself right in the ass is not supplementing with any B12. I now know why 3 months into that protocol, when I could barely get up the 3 steps to get into my house, and when I did, I fell down and I urinated all over myself and the floor. 3 months into it, and I'm like, oh, this is detox, it's detox, and I just, like, sometimes it would be better, and sometimes it'd be worse, but then I just kept telling myself, it's just detox, it's just detox. Well, I think it was some partial detox, there's no doubt. I mean, I was able to get off my antidepressants and all my medicines, but I was just getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and then, was it last winter, or the winter? No, it was the winter before, I've had this scooter for 2 years, and I'm like, I'm just going to use that while I'm doing my big detox. So, so I don't even have the stairs out even to go to my garage anymore because now there's a ramp there. But I don't know. So, anyways, it's a little background. So I think what was happening, I think what I personally have is I think I have something going on with my B6 methylation and the B12 and the methylation. And I think it's a genetic thing because my grandmother she was labeled with schizophrenia, but it really wasn't schizophrenia. She'd go like nuts twice a year, and she had never had any energy. Her what she used to say is, I can't be bothered. And that's a sure sign of B12 deficiency, now that I know what I know. My mother had an ileostomy in her 20s before I was born, And when you have an ileostomy, people, if you know anyone who has stuff going on with that, they need to be having B12 injections every day for the rest of their life. My mother's never had them. She has been a depressed person that's unbelievable. I worked in the medical field for quite a while, about 5 years. But anyways, I've never seen a case like hers in my life. But now that I know what I know, I think I know there's something to do with B12. So anyways, and she had other problems too. There's Tessa. So anyways, I went to the doctor and they did a B12, serum B12, and they did an MMA, but it was a blood serum MMA. It wasn't a urine MMA. Now I told him, this may not be totally reflective because I've been supplementing for 2 weeks. He's like, oh, no, that'll be bad. But he actually was pretty good. I saw a PA and he didn't look at me like I had 15 heads. And again, I was losing my left arm. So they gave me a cyanocobalamin B12 shot right in the office. Well, now cyanocobalamin there's different forms. There's like 4 major different forms of B12. There could be more, I don't really know, but the ones I'm learning about are like the 4. And there's like 2 active, 2 inactive. And cyanocobalamin when it goes into your system, it still has to be converted into the end stage methylcobalamin. And it's a tough process to do. And you have to have a lot of cofactors like the B6, B2, B1, some seaweed, but that's another thing. So anyways, they gave me the cyanocobalamin shot, and of course I had to go to the bathroom within 5 minutes. And now I've had one of my first symptoms ever, like it started in 1995, was an inability to urinate. So I've had to use a catheter, which is, it's bad, it's a pain in the fanny, but it's not really that bad. For a male, it's a lot worse. So anyways, I just found this new ring that I bought. Freaking digging that, man. But anyways, I got the shot, and see if I can get this on my finger. I gotta make it bigger. So anyways, I got the shot within 5 minutes. I got it while I rolled into the bathroom, and I was able to start a urine flow without a catheter. And I went, like, it was a huge swoosh, which normally it's not at all. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. That hasn't happened in 18 years. So I left the office, and the next day in my closet I have like 2 racks. I want to call it a walk-in closet, but it's kind of like a stand-in closet. It's not really a walk-in. So anyways, I usually have the pants on the bottom and the shirts on the top. Well, the last couple of years or so, all my shirts have been on the bottom on hangers. And so the next day, I'm like, oh, they got to go up top. So I stood up, I put them up top, and then I sat down, and I was like, oh, I was waiting for the whoa, like the dizzy, the shortness of breath, and it never came. And I was like, whoa, this is wild. So I did some more research on it, a lot more research on it. And of course, my levels came back in the 500s, so it showed that I wasn't deficient at all, which your blood levels can look like you're not deficient, but your tissues can be very deficient. So, how do I say this in a nice way? I don't really give a crap what my doctors say, because if I would have listened to them, I would be dead right now. So I did more and more research, and online I found a company in Florida who sells methylcobalamin B12 shots on the internet. They're not cheap. But I bought them because I'm like, I need to save my left arm. And that's what I did one today. And that's what this is right here. See the red? The red is the B12. I mean, I already used this. But anyways, I've been taking the B6 and the B12. And again, I've been under like an insurmountable amount of stress. And I'm not only worried about my mother's situation, but I'm worried about mine too, because this is the first time I've ever been really scared. I'm like, if I lose my left arm, I'm screwed. So anyways, I've been doing that. the B12 shots for about maybe 3 weeks. It took a while for me to get that for whatever reason, and maybe 2 3 weeks. And went like right. I took one this morning. I took my B12 together, and I feel really normal right now. Like I'm going to the gym. Oh, and that's another thing. I didn't go to my gym for about 3 weeks. One, because the first week, I just was so mentally out of it. In the next 2 weeks, I didn't know if I'd be going to a funeral and I was just so down and out. I couldn't even function. I mean, you should see my house. It's bad, man. It's really bad. So I ended up going back a week ago, and I did my shot in my B6 before I went back. I was there the last time, August 31st, and I went back on September 24th. And my trainer, I was doing some stuff. He's like, "Have you been working out at home?" Because he's like, "Oh my God, you're doing really good." And I'm like, "I know it." I couldn't believe it. I got in that one little exercise where you like lift your legs, and sometimes I can't even get in that thing. And I got in there and went, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And I did the other things, and I was just amazed. I was kind of freaked out, actually. Now, this is what's going on, though. I have read online that if you're super, super deficient in B12, when you start to take it, obviously you're going to get healing crises, which I've had. And this is different. Like the first couple days I started taking, my face totally cleared up. Now it's coming out. Like I'm getting all these like whiteheads, weird things up here. I mean, zits. And another thing, too, is these lines have gotten so bad in the last year that I don't even know what I'm going to do. I look like shit. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? Whatever. So, what's been happening, though, when I read online, is that if you're so B12 deficient and you start to take the B12, what will happen is your potassium will lower because it's being used to heal all these things. Now, I've had to take a nap during the day, and I just go on the floor in the family room and sleep for like an hour. And that's unlike me. I don't ever do that, and then I sleep at night. I mean, that's crazy. And I'm still grounding, which I love. I think everyone should ground. I have a grounding sheet now. Love it, and it helps me not to spasm. It is a wonderful thing. So I looked up signs and symptoms of B12 deficiency. It's everything I've ever had, and this is the kicker. There's certain things, like if you're low on B12, and there's certain things, if you're exposed to them, they can wipe out your levels of B12. Now, I'll just tell you this quick, because I don't want to make this a really long video. In 1996, the year I was diagnosed, I used to work as a respiratory therapist, and I worked in a lab. I gave people breathing tests and all different kinds of breathing tests. Used to take blood on them and work with the doctors there. Well, the main doctor was doing a study on methacholine, which is a chemical. If you breathe it in and you have asthma, it will make your airways tighter. So I was the technician involved with that. But he also wanted to measure nitric oxide in that process. It was like a big study, done. So anyways, I always knew how do I explain this? I always knew I shouldn't breathe in that nitric oxide, but I was the technician and I had to do what I had to do. We did like probably 3 patients a week. Well, that's when I was diagnosed, right during that time. That's when I started having problems like with fatigue, a little bit of fatigue, inability to think straight, inability to urinate normally. So anyways, in this book, it's called Could It Be B12 by Sally Polchak or something like that, and her husband, who's a DO, doctor of osteopath. And they say that nitric oxide, if you have problems with dental anesthesia or anesthesia, oh, that's me to a T. It wipes out your B12. In that book, it's a roadmap of my life. Like cervical dysplasia, I had that. I had conjunctivitis, which actually that's a B6 thing. But it was a roadmap of my life. So I'm kind of thinking that could be it. Now, on that note, I suggest that you all get your B12 levels done. And I suggest, I should have brought that book out. I suggest that you read the book, Could It Be B12? Because like right now, I think what's happening is I'm having like such deep, deep healing that my potassium levels are going down and I'm just laid out flat. But as soon as I supplement again, I'm like, wow, it's like this. But again, I'm in a stressful period. But anyways, that's what's going on with me, and I hope you guys are doing well. So, if any of you have any comments regarding, or, the B12 situation in MS, it's pretty wild, and I'm kind of thinking that that could be a huge part of my problem. The whole methylation cycle thing, I think it's a genetic thing. Grandmother, mother, and then me. And my niece, my brother's daughter. So, anyways, carry on.